rundown. How do we feel about these? I won't be able to make this like a Twitch clip because it's gonna be too long, but like I can easily make this like maybe a highlight. I don't know. Definitely at least clip it differently. But yeah, starting with Medan. Very much enjoyed the story of Medan. Only like the trophy hunting aspect was really annoying for certain parts because they would force you to make head and heart decisions, which are trophies. 115? Yeah, sure, Ritos, that works. Um, Discord me. I'll just put yes in chat, so because I understand that you're not whatever. But yeah, Medan. This was like annoying because it was a situation where like if you sometimes there would be two head decisions, for example, and you couldn't choose either one if you're going on an only heart playthrough, which is dumb as fuck, by the way. Like, and in later games they fixed that where it says like only you used only blank decisions, as you could, right? Like when the options were provided, type of deal. So that made that annoying. Otherwise, I think the story is fine. Like, I'm cool with it being like a weird government chemical weapon from World War II that like forces people to hallucinate and shit. Like, that's cool. That's a nice twist on things. And there's definitely clues throughout it, like that give that impression. So besides like a couple of things in the game, like one thing that bothers me a lot in Medan is the fact that they don't like a couple of the characters don't wear shoes even though they're allowed to get dressed. And it's like they go on some rusty ass old boat from like that's like 80 fucking years old. And at that point you just think to yourself, like, dude, this is just one big like tetanus like ship. Like, come on now. That one major gripe aside, and it is like it bothers the shit out of me, it really does. That aside, it's not enough to really like dock it a whole point. But yeah, the game's kind of clunky in some parts. The PS5 port's terrible. Like, it's really glitchy and shit. But besides that, like, just counting the game itself on the PS4 version, pretty good. I like it. I'd say it's about like 8 out of 10. Little Hope is a 7 out of 10, and it's even though I think it's a better game than Medan, the plot twist for this game, which so this is like a spoiler, I guess, for Little Hope if you're gonna go play it. So just ignore the little bit here for like the next like minute or so. I guess I'll make myself a smug face, and then when I take it off a smug face, I'll stop talking about Little Hope. Um, there, yeah, right there, smug face. Let's go. Anyway, yeah. So the fact that it's all like in his head is fucking stupid and dumb, and it was way more of an interesting concept. What they had for this game, the idea that it was like you're tortured, like your reincarnated soul or whatever, right? Happens to like meet up with these five people like throughout time, and that you're being cursed by like some devil thing that you need to fucking break, like break the cycle. Um, by getting over your fears of like like various whatever, and stopping some like evil preacher dude who's like I don't know like Satan and fucking like God's clothes or whatever. Like that was a way cooler concept than just like oh he's just imagining everything because his family died and then he just feels sad. Like I don't know, just lame as fuck. Really dumb. Anyway, we're back to Happy Face. How do we feel about House of Ashes? Very important to note that my feeling on the game is oh yeah, a little hope. Yeah, so it's rated 7 out of 10 for that reason. But yeah, House of Ashes. So far, I gotta say it's about an 8 as well because see, think how do I explain that? I don't like. I've said it a couple times earlier, but I don't like the push towards oh it's just like some weird alien creature species thing coming in from like a meteor and then it infects people to become vampires. That concept does sound cool, but I thought it was cooler when it was like some ancient curse from like some evil deity thing. Like I don't know, like it just being like oh it's aliens, especially because like not only is it aliens, but like the imagery was so like it reminded me so much of like the Alien franchise. The Ridley Scott film. Um, and the rest of the films in that franchise. That it was constantly distracting to me, and I'm sure some people, if they were to watch it later, would be like, "Dude, why are you mentioning aliens so much?" But yeah, I mean, it bothered me. It very much bothered me. I still think it's fine, but it's just annoying. It's with no spoilers to Little Hope. It does a similar thing to Little Hope in the sense that like it's building to one thing and it becomes a different thing. And I'm not a fan of it for that reason, unfortunately. At least not as much of a fan. So like even though I don't think it's bad, it disappoints me more, which leaves me more with like a negative feeling. But I still enjoy the game and I still enjoy the aspects of it. Like, oh, this is first of all, these monsters are actually real, which is nice because the last two games weren't. Um, and they did that specifically. Like they had a press release even before this game of like, hey, yeah, we're actually gonna make the monsters real this time, right? Because people were bitching that the monsters weren't real like the last two times. Which to me, like, it's fine in some cases if they aren't real, and other cases where they are. But like, don't just have them never be real. Like that's boring as fuck. Like if you just, I don't, yeah, whatever. Valid Devil in Me was my favorite of the four so far. Yeah, I'm curious about Devil in Me. From the picture thing, it said like hotel for the thing, and then it seems to be like some weird serial killer dude. So I wonder how that would play in. Like, are you the one? Like you? I assume what happens if I had to guess, and this is me like totally fucking just blowing it out of my ass from just based on the fact that the thing was called hotel, and there's like a thing about like not being able to leave and there being a serial killer. I'm gonna guess that they all stay at a hotel, and this guy serial kills them at hotels, and you have to somehow stay alive, which could be really interesting. The thing is, even in a scenario like that where like nothing's like supernatural or whatever, that still has a lot of really good tension. In a similar way that Until Dawn, another game made by the same company, had that sort of tension in the beginning of the game before it turned into like some supernatural shit, which is fine actually. That's one that like changed halfway through that I thought was really cool because the change became like more interesting. Whereas with Little Hope and House of Ashes, the game became less interesting to me personally. Like the story did. But yeah, anyway, back to House of Ashes. The beginning section, yeah, it seemed really cool, and that's what like it really sets this whole curse idea up, which I think is just way cooler. I do like this stuff with like, oh hey, we're in Iraq, soldier stuff. I was able to stop war crimes. That's pretty cool. Allowed to do that. And I like the idea of like two enemy forces combining together. To stop like a more common threat. Like, hey, let's put aside our differences. Some of the characters were kind of annoying. Clarice in general was like, I don't know. It just felt like too quirky for me in the sense of like this is like a active war zone where you get to like die in any moment. Like maybe take this a little bit more serious. I mean, there were characters that were shit talky, but you could tell they were shit talky, but they were ready to go like in a moment's notice. Where like she just kind of seemed like, let's just do Marvel quips all the time. Her and Eric. It's just like, dude, I'm like, this is dumb. But yeah, but it was that was cool. Like with it, and then the stuff with like the Blood River was like a bit ridiculous, but at the same time like cool. So like I'll give it a pass for that. Um, this trophy seemed not to matter in the slightest. These two chose to fight together, but then it's like he still just ends up like a fucking zombie that comes to attack you. I assume like if they don't choose to, I assume it's to be honest, it probably just happens the same way either way. Like it was slightly different, but they're obviously both gonna die regardless. Yeah. I do wonder like at what point other characters die though, and that's where additional playthroughs would help me understand this game a bit better to really like have an idea. Um, oh yeah, another thing, Little Hope. I wouldn't say it's a fucking spoiler because it's like in the very beginning. If you like in the prologue where you can't change the outcome anyway in the prologue. Yeah, the same thing would happen in like Medan to a sense. Like everyone dies on that fucking ship. You know what I mean? Same thing with this game. Like all the people are gonna die in the fucking prologue when it's like out in like Mesopotamia times or whatever. So with Little Hope, they had a similar situation like that. And if you chose one option for this person to try to escape, she dies either way. But like she gets her fucking neck snapped by like her scarf getting caught, and like the scarf can somehow support the entire weight of like her body falling downward, and it just snaps her neck. And it's like this is stupid. There's no way like that scarf would break. Um, what was the point of that? I think the point of that was like I thought that was dumb too. But other than those two things, like one's a major deal and the other one not so much. Like I did like a little hope for most of it. It just got disappointing at the end. But yeah, so I'm thinking that situations like that might become more apparent in House of Ashes as I do more playthroughs on my own. I'm not gonna do them stream, but as I do more playthroughs to discover like what else I could do with the game, like what differences I can have. So, for example, like how far Clarice can potentially survive if we take her further into the area, or Merwin. Obviously, Merwin can survive way later into the game, and we can have him fix our radio. So I'm curious as to that. But yeah, for now, I would say House of Ashes is an 8, subject to change a little bit. Like it might jump a little bit higher, a little bit lower. I wouldn't think it's going to jump anything like majorly different past that point. But yeah. Anyway, that's House of Ashes for the